One of my favorite characters in the story, in addition to Audrey, of course, has to be Lady Reading. I mean, I loved her, probably because she's a character that I didn't make up. Her history and her circumstances are real. She was born into a wealthy family. She was the daughter of a man who was the director of the tobacco monopoly of the Ottoman Empire. Now, I don't know that I historically understand exactly what that means, but I do grasp that it means big dollars. She was educated by private tutors. She'd been taught to speak several languages. In short, she lived a life of wealth and privilege. Except then World War I came along. Her father lost everything. Now, this could have been a disaster for her, but she didn't let it. Why? Well, because amidst all the luxury and the wealth, early on as a child, she'd also been stricken with spinal troubles. This created a time where she was confined to her bed for months. It was an experience that she would later call lucky, because it ingrained into her the understanding that there was more to life than the luxury lifestyle she'd been living. She learned that there were moments when you had to face your troubles head on with determination. And so, with the family fortune gone, that's exactly what she did. She joined the Red Cross during the war, and then she took a job in a solicitor's office. Then in 1925, at just 31 years of age, she was asked to join the staff of Viceroy Rufus Isaacs in India. Now, it's a long way from London, but she still jumped at the chance. She served first as the secretary to the Viceroy's wife, and then as chief of staff to the Viceroy himself. Afterward, she helped direct the business affairs of Imperial Chemical Industries in London, where the Viceroy served as its president. So she is clearly a very capable woman. But we also learn a little bit about her heart, what she felt inside, because in 1931, a year after the Viceroy's wife had died, she was asked by Rufus Isaacs, 1st Earl of Reading, to become his wife. Now, this is a great ending, right? Except like most stories in our lives, it's just a stepping stone to prepare us for bigger trials and greater things ahead. In her case, just 4 years later, her new husband died, leaving Lady Reading a young widow, and it completely shattered her world. It was a time where she struggled emotionally to deal with her circumstance, and in fact, the exact words that she used to describe this time were shock and disorientation. It was during this turmoil that she traveled to the United States. Her late husband had always believed that the future of their democracy in England would depend on the British gaining a greater appreciation of Americans, and even after his death, she felt the drive to do just that. So without much of a plan, but really just wandering, which is sometimes okay to do in the midst of our struggles, she traveled around the United States by motor car, visiting state after state, staying in dollar-a-night hotels or motels, and even taking work as a dishwasher, all to better understand the ordinary people here. Now, this erratic behavior clearly caught the attention of many back in England who were concerned for her well-being, until one day she was driving down the road and she was pulled over by a state trooper. She was perplexed, not sure what she'd done wrong, but it turned out that he was just as perplexed, because as he approached the car, he asked if she was Lady Reading, and when she confirmed that she was, he said, "I just received a call, ma'am, from the President of the United States, and he asked if you would call him." I mean, that is so good. I can't make this stuff up. When real life is better than fiction, it's just golden. Well, Lady Reading went back to the White House. She became dear friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. And even after returning to England, the two continued to write for the rest of their lives. So where did all of this lead Lady Reading? Well, in 1938, after formal hostilities had been declared by England, the government leaders realized that they needed to establish an association of women, female volunteers, to serve during what would become the country's greatest conflict. And who was the first person they approached? Lady Reading, of course. She naturally agreed, and Women's Voluntary Services, or WVS as it was known, was established. And women flocked to it by the thousands. I hope you can see why I admire and love this woman. She teaches us lessons of love and heartbreak, but also resilience and determination. Most important, and I believe she would be the first to admit, that she would never have been able to accomplish what she did had it not been for her previous struggles. So there, in a nutshell, are the life and lessons of Stella Isaacs, the incomparable Lady Reading.